I'm not great at this point at any language other than English. I don't know if I was ever great at Chinese, and I'm certainly not now. It's been so long since I had opportunities to speak. Maybe C++ is the best language I understand. I have kind of a needlessly pedantic and annoying thing that I do whenever someone is like, a programming language is a language. I'm saying them as the nerdy ones, but I'm the one who's talking like that in this situation. Then I'm like, it's not really a language. I don't know. I don't understand why it's really called that even. It doesn't feel like a language. Learning it doesn't feel like a language. You don't use it like a language. It's not like that at all. Can we write a song in C++? Okay, so this is like the dumbest thing, but I feel like so many people are like, I'm at the verge of art and engineering, and then they like write a poem with some like programming syntax in it. You know what I mean? Have you been exposed to this? Because I feel like I've been exposed to this so much, where someone will be like, they'll like put an if then in a poem and they'll be like, I'm fusing my interests, and it's like, this is a canon moment for you, you know, this is a canon event. This is like part of your journey to being probably someone really cool who's actually making interdisciplinary art, but please stop. Would I consider music to be a language? If it is, I don't speak it very well, but I think more so than I would consider a programming language to be a language, right? Because I'm not really using a programming language to express abstract ideas, right? Like in some ways I am, right? You could say that like a pointer itself is sort of an abstract idea, but it's not the point of it, right? I am speaking to the computer in a way that the computer can understand, but it's not for the purposes of like communicating abstract ideas. It's to make the computer do work for me, right? So it doesn't really feel like a language, but I do feel like music is more of a language. I would say that more than that, there are languages within music, right? I don't know if I would say that music is a language, but I feel like jazz is definitely a language. People have whole conversations that are emotional and meaningful and, at least to me, seem to be conveying pretty abstract ideas. Everything is a language, even machine code is a language. I don't know. That's not how it feels to me, but sure. I'm not a philosopher. I'm not prepared to disprove it, but at least to me, that doesn't really feel like what it is at all. When I'm writing code, it doesn't feel like writing language. And when I'm learning a new language, like a coding language, it doesn't feel like learning a new actual language, you know? However, learning improvisational styles and standards does feel kind of like learning a language. In that case, music is a language. You can also assume math is seeing how it is understood in the same way. I'm not sure I fully understand what you're saying, but it sounds cool. I'm into it. Yeah, I feel like something being a way that you can express yourself doesn't necessarily make it a language, right? I feel like there's gotta be some component in a language that goes beyond just like the idea of expression. Because I feel like at that point, I don't know, a sculpture is a language, and maybe it is, right? Maybe a sculpture is a language. But I feel like there's something more that makes a language, right? Like, sign language is a language. Waving is not a language. Even though I can understand something about how you're feeling, you are expressing yourself when you do it, and it is using your body in a similar way, waving is not a language and sign language is. You know what I mean? A language is a set of tokens that use a grammar. I mean, in that case, then a programming language would be a language. But it doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't really feel like a very good definition of language. Feels like it kind of trivializes languages. A structured form of communication is a language. That feels a little bit more correct to me, although I would want some caveats on what kind of structure and what it means to be structured, right? I'd want a definition for structured in that case. But yeah, I would say in that case, a programming language to me is not a language, by that definition. And that definition does feel more correct to me, but I also think none of these matter enormously. Programming is just math using a different syntax? I mean, sometimes using the same syntax, right? Like, there are programming languages that use mathematical syntax, right? And there are many different mathematical syntaxes. So I feel like that's kind of a strange thing to say. I don't know if I 100% agree with that. Programming language is as much a language as Morse code is a language. It's not a language in and of itself, but a translation of one. Maybe. I don't hate that off the bat, right? It being just a code, a code to represent stuff, right? The difference between a code and a language, right? So when I was a kid, me and my sisters, and my mom as well, she was guilty of this too, we're sort of afraid to talk in public. I don't know why. It started out just about anything private, but eventually it was just like most of our conversation in public. We see what it gets Bobby like that. So what it is you add before the first vowel sound in every syllable alternating ias, idiga, and then ub. So becomes siaso, sirigo, or sabo, depending on where it falls in the sentence. And also siaso, siriga, sub. So the first two get the stress in that new created syllable, whereas the ub doesn't. Literally lorem ipsum. Iasa, sirigo wabi biasan, tiragok labag diasis. Iasan idigay hapapapan diasan idiget iasan sirigo labang. Biasat idiget sabang diasid. Liasai idiget nabathar liasang widigich. Tiasu pidigi people who didn't know, right? To people who didn't know, it sort of sounded like another language. But it wasn't one, right? It was a code. It was still English. So I feel like, you know, a code in a language is a distinction that we can all definitely understand. And I also feel like the key thing that's important for me about a language is that it's for communication, right? And I also think a programming language is not for communication. At least not how I've ever used one. But the code is self-commenting, people think that code is communicative. I wouldn't say that that is the same thing, right? Because they're not trying to communicate something with the code. They're saying that you can understand what the code is supposed to do from looking at the code. They're saying that there is no communication required to explain the code, right? Like, if I make a mechanical structure that's very, very small and sort of hard to see, right? Like, oh, actually, a great example is a Rube Goldberg, right? A Rube Goldberg is so confusing and obfuscated and winding that when you look at it, you can't immediately tell what it's built to do a lot of the time. However, if you have the simplest possible mechanical version of that Rube Goldberg, if you take out every unnecessary step, you have a very simple little mechanism that you probably can understand. And so when someone says the code is self-commenting, I don't think that they're saying that it communicates more than other code. I think that they're saying that it's very, very clean, there's no obfuscation, and it's really easy to see what it's doing, right? A coding language is a set of instructions. Exactly. So some of the first written languages were made to record transactions, right? Some of the first, I think cuneiform that we have is recording only transactions. And so the question of like, is that a written language? Is sort of complicated because all it does is record transactions. Is that a full written language? And personally, I'd say, not really. For me, I don't think that's a written language. I wouldn't call that a written language. And software, it's kind of the same thing, right? When you're writing code. Isn't code a language because it is needed to communicate with a computer like how communicating with people is? So if your definition of a language is you can use it to communicate with something, then I guess it is, but I don't really like that definition of a language. I feel like it doesn't really capture everything that a language is when we talk about languages, right? I feel like it's just not really a very useful definition. But yes, by that definition, then it certainly is a language. Code is a recipe! Oh, yes! Lost Jake, thank you! Exactly. Yes, code is only for recipes. And so it doesn't really feel like... Similar to how like, oh, a plant and some dead leaves is a transcription of its health, but not a language. Thank you, Wolf! Ah, exactly, yeah. So anyway, you find the definition that makes the most sense to you based on how you use languages, how you learn them, and how you think about them. But at least to me, yeah, writing code has never felt like writing in another language. Yeah, I would say that just because something is a potential art form doesn't mean it's a language, right? I wouldn't say that software not being a language in my head precludes the idea of code being art.